Thanks for staying tuned. It's still iBrandTV and it's the Children's Day special. Now, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights affirms that education is a fundamental human right for everyone. It is one of the most powerful tools in lifting socially excluded children and adults out of poverty and into the society. We have in the studio with us Reverend Dr. Victor Basola. He is a pastor and proprietor of Kingston Nursery and Primary School, Akute, which is a tuition-free school. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so very much.
What brought about, the idea to have a tuition-free school?
The idea to start a tuition-free school did not just start immediately.
Okay.
When I was growing up, they chased me severally for school fees. Severally, constantly, consistently. Because my dad, may the Lord bless his soul, he wanted to give us the best of education, but he was an insurance marketer. And his income then was not up to the quality of education that he wanted to give us as children. And as his first son, first sons are the ones that bear the brunt of the initial poverty of a family. By the time the second and the third start coming, the financial story of the family may have begun to change. But the firstborn, especially if the father and the mother got married trying to, by faith, if you understand what I mean. So the firstborn will suffer something. So I was the firstborn, I am the firstborn, and my school fees did not come regularly. So they chased us consistently. We were among those that they may have to flog. Those days, they flog you. And instead of them they were not supposed to be the ones they should flog. They should have flogged their parents, but they flogged us and they chased out of school to the extent that we began to enjoy being chased away from school because we have the opportunity to go and play computer game, we have the opportunity to turn around before getting home. But the pain and the emotional trauma of seeing my mates in class and I have to be chased away created a deep-seated compassion in me that I did not know was in my heart. Now, secondly, when I began to give birth to my own children, my first son also, who incidentally today is his birthday, also was chased from school. Okay. Why? When I got married at the age of 29, things were not financially okay. So, of course, when you've not paid, they will chase him. It now resonated what I also suffered. And I made up my mind that when God begins to help me, I would ensure that I pick one or two, sincerely one or two children that I can help to mitigate their school fees. I did not plan to go full scale. In fact, when we were to start Kingston Primary School, it was registered as a business name. Okay. We had rented the facility for 1.5 million with mind to do profit business. Until 3 weeks to the opening, I heard clearly in my spirit, do a free school. It was a confusing instruction. It was an uphill task because financially I did not even have the capacity. If it was to pick one or two, of course, before it would be time for school fees, you would have rallied round. But going all out as a totally free school, there was no antecedent. There was none of such around me that I could pick, that I could at least draw strength from. So out of fear, I didn't start totally free. Of course, you have to be afraid of such a humongous assignment. So I started as a tuition-free. Okay, don't pay school fees, don't pay for PTA, don't pay for this. Just buy books, not all the books. Just buy textbooks, basic textbook, about 5 subjects, and basic notebooks, and pay for uniform. Don't pay for every other thing. That happened the first time. Some people did not believe. In fact, some of the neighbors around the school did not bring their children. Why? Some said, where would we get money to pay teachers? Number 2, the quality of teachers that will be there will be low and cheap. Number 3, how would they sustain it? So when I went back to pray, that's why as a child of God, I prayed. And I heard in my spirit, I did not send you tuition free. Make it totally free. When I shared it with my wife, she fell sick for about 2 weeks.
Because of the...
Yes, we took her to 3 different hospitals.
Wow.
They did all manner of tests until when the doctor discovered that it was stress. Shock. It's called vision shock. Especially when the vision is bigger than your capacity. Exactly. Now, if the vision is not bigger than you, it's not from God. No, it's not from... If you have the capacity to do it, you don't need God.
Okay.
But if the vision is bigger than you, then you will need God to fulfill it. So when I was able to, by the grace of God, convince her that this is not about us, it's not about our financial strength. You know, women are the ones in charge of the purse. They've calculated everything. They know if there is space in the family finances for this kind of madness that my husband wants to get involved with. The name of her heard a voice. Now, God helped me to convince her, and she accepted to do it. When she accepted to do it, she became well. And then she became the proprietress of the school because she has a postgraduate in education from ABU Zaria and a BSc in zoology from Delsu. So she was already prepared for such, but not prepared for free. And then gradually, I was able to gather the parents together after first term. In fact, one of the parents said when we called for meeting after first term that she had made up her mind that the first term was for them to catch us. So the second term will now start paying. Only for us to announce, I have the videos, only for us to announce that from second term, you're no longer paying for school fees or textbook. There's an Alaja among them. She broke down in tears. She said a Christian school, making it totally free, that the last time she saw such a thing was in the north. Physical tears, we have the videos. She said she was expecting us to say thank you very much. The first term was adverts, the first term was screensaver, the first term was welcome marketing. So from second term you start paying. I told them that from this second term, no more payments. That was when God now began to touch one or two persons. Pastor, I have this 10,000 for you. Pastor, take this 50,000. Pastor, I will sponsor 2 children. Pastor, how much for the chairs? How much for the table? In fact, when we were to do the chairs at the table, I had to join the carpenters. Now, I now know how to do school chair.
Okay, now just to cut
Yes,
amazing storyline. We like quite the storyline. I think that's a motivation now to start with.
Thank you.
But then the fears of these parents, they were not invalid because every parent wants their child to have quality education.
That's right.
Even when they cannot afford it.
Yes.
So at the point where the parents started talking about their fears and about the quality of education, if the curriculum would be substandard as compared to other schools, what did you have to do about it to make sure that it was better and their fears were not, they didn't come to play, didn't come to light?
Okay, first of all, what we did was we checked around to see how much salary that normal schools were paying. In Akute, which is a suburb of Ogun State, Akute is geographically Ogun State, but financially Lagos State. So in Akute, it's a suburb of Lagos or Ogun State. They pay NCE 12,000. 12,000, 14,000. The highest you can get for BSc in Akute is 22,000. So I discussed with the proprietress and I said, let us pay minimum wage of 30,000 so that at least we can get the best crop around. When we advertise minimum wage 30,000, we were able to get the best minds in that environment, first of all. Then we checked for the best curriculum that some of the biggest schools around were using, and we adapted them. Thirdly, I removed my 2 sons from the school where I was paying serious money and brought them to the school. When I removed my 2 sons and brought them to the free school, that's when people believed that whatever this man wants to do is going to be quality if he can bring his own children.
Okay, let's look at, we've talked about education as a very important, tool for children in their development. Let's look at the place of parents. And you talked about the fears of parents, and as she said, parents, even though they do not have the capacity, they still want quality education for their children. Using your school as a case study now, within the 21st century, how much of a role can education play in ensuring that we have a good crop of children that will grow into adults?
This is my own point of view. Education starts from the home.
Okay.
If the parent does a poor job, the teacher is helpless. Because the first early years of a child that child is attached to the parent. The first 1, 2, 3 years of that child, he or she is attached to the parents. So whatever the teacher does outside, if the environment in the house is not conducive, the teacher is wasting his time. So it must be a collective and strategic collaboration between the parents, intentional parents that see the future and see education as a vehicle to achieve that future. It must be a collaboration between the parents and the educational system. There must be no disparity. If there is, whatever the teacher is doing will be countered by the parent at home. If there is a disparity at home, whatever the parent is doing at home will be countered by the teacher in school.
All right, now let's do a comparative analysis between when you were growing up and now when your son is growing up, because those are two different generations. Yes, parenting then and parenting now. Now, one would say that I'm looking at it from the angle of discipline in children. When you were growing up, I do not know how you grew up or how I grew up. My parents were disciplinarians. They will flog you even with the head of belts. No, they were doing it not because they hate you. Of course, because they want, and of course, my father's parents or my mother's parents would have their own different parenting style, which may be seen these days as brutal. So, in the area of discipline, we've had children who, right now, they are seen as very, very rude. Would I say rude? Is that the right word? But very not so disciplined now, for lack of better words. So, would you say the parenting style then and now? Some people will say, "I rather not flog my child. I rather sit down and talk to him or her, make him or her understand." Other parents will tell you that won't work. You need to quote the Bible, of course, spare the rod and spoil the child. So, what do you think about that?
I think there must be a balance between the two. When I was growing up, my mom can flog you for an offense that you commit, and she can flog you for an offense you are planning to commit.
For crying, she flog you. For not crying, she flogs.
While you are still planning the offense, she will flog you in advance, so that when the time comes for the offense, you will remember the initial flogging and you behave yourself. My mom can look at you. Just by looking at you, your brain will enter into a factory setting. Else, at that spot, she can beat you. Even when I was